Capture the Flag by Kate Messner, a First Chapter Friday read aloud video with the Word Nerd. Today, as you listen, play along. Watch for the story quote that will appear on screen. Write it down word by word and then follow the instructions given to you by your teacher. Make sure you stay all the way to the end to see if you've written it down correctly. Before we jump into the story today, I want to give a quick shout out to Mrs. Steltzer's 7th graders at John Muir Middle School in Wausau, Wisconsin. I'm so glad you guys are here today. Happy listening! Hi, my name is Amanda Zieba. Welcome to my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd, and another First Chapter Friday video. This week, I'm going to be reading to you from Capture the Flag by Kate Messner. And the most unique thing about this story is that the entire book takes place in one place. The characters in this book are snowed in an airport, and all of the action for the entire story takes place right there at the airport because they can't go anywhere else. And this is a really unique situation in a really unique setting. And I love that the author, Kate, did so much with just this one place. Let me read you the back so you know a little bit more about the story, and then we will dive into chapter 1. A stolen flag, a secret society, and 3 complete strangers. Anna, Jose, and Henry have never met, but they have more in common than they realize. Snowed in together at a chaotic Washington, D.C. airport, they encounter a mysterious tattooed man, a flamboyant politician, and a rambunctious poodle named for an ancient king. Even stranger, news stations everywhere have just announced that the famous flag that inspired the Star-Spangled Banner has been stolen. Anna, certain that the culprits must be snowed in too, recruits Henry and José to help find the thieves and bring them to justice. But when accusations start flying, they soon realize there's even more than a national treasure at stake. With the unexpected enemies lurking around every corner, will the trio solve the heist before the flag is lost forever? So this is a super fun mystery. It's an action story as well, but you're trying to figure out who done it, who took the flag. Capture the Flag by Kate Messner, Chapter 1. They never should have unlocked the door. Oh, first of all, what a great first line. If you're looking for a line to start a story with, I think that would be a good one. They never should have unlocked the door. They never should have let them in. The party had already gone late, and the blur of red, white, and blue bunting and orchestra music and fancy gowns and thin, crispy crackers with caviar. The tour wasn't on the schedule. But Irma Emma Jones, the director of the Smithsonian Museum of American History, made curator Jeff Brody unlock the chamber one last time. "We have a dignitary that's requested a private viewing," she said. "But we've already secured the area." Brody's brow wrinkled as if he felt personally responsible for each of the museum's 355,000 treasures of American history. "The key is way down in the lockbox." This particular dignitary made a particularly large donation. He would like a tour for his group. The director looked over her glasses and handed Brody a clipboard. Brody sighed. He was tired of dignitaries. Side note, dignitary is like a person from a foreign country who is like maybe royalty, but not necessarily royalty. It basically just means like somebody super special. He never watched the news and couldn't have cared less about all the politicians and visiting heads of state who came through the museum. But he nodded and set off toward the escalator, weaving through women in ball gowns and waiters balancing trays of tiny cream puffs. "Excuse me," he said. The gala was so crowded he nearly had to climb over the 3 kids sitting on a bench next to the bronze statue of George Washington. The freckly-faced girl hovered over a purple notebook, her pen flying back and forth across the page. The skinny boy with the messy black hair held a thick paperback and nibbled on cookies from a napkin in his lap. Next to him, a sturdier boy with short cropped hair poked his thumb furiously at a handheld video game. None of them looked up. One more. Brody took the escalator to the basement security suite, buzzed the officer at the main desk, and entered to get the key. "One more," he told the officer. The officer grunted, took a bite of his meatball sub, and looked up at the bank of monitors that showed every corner of the museum. Brody punched in his code, opened the safe, and pulled out the key card. On the monitor, he could see the final tour group already gathered near the exhibit. "Be back soon." Upstairs, 5 men waited, all in black tuxedos. 2 were stocky bodybuilder types. There was a skinny one who kept rubbing his bald head as if he'd forgotten to put on his hair. a younger one who wore sneakers with his tux, and a tall one who seemed to be in charge. His perfectly sculpted, wavy brown hair made him look as if he'd stepped out of a shampoo commercial. "Good evening," the tall man said when Brody arrived, "and thank you. We are so looking forward to this tour." Brody's eyes dropped to his clipboard. "Wait, I have 4 on the clearance list, not 5. "Is that so? Because my good friend, your boss, I believe, assured me that whatever my group wanted, there would be no problem." The tall man nodded across the room where Irma Emma Jones was hugging the orchestra director. Over his shoulder, she nodded at Brody and flicked her hand toward the exhibit, motioning for him to get going. So he did. He led the men past the charred piece of timber left behind when British troops burned the White House in 1814, past the wall panels that told the story of the siege of Baltimore just days later, past a real British bombshell, one of hundreds that fell that night, blasting shrapnel into Fort McHenry, and right up to the polished silver punch bowl molded in the shape of a bombshell and engraved with the name Fort McHenry Commander George Armistead. To the right of the punch bowl hung a portrait of the Baltimore seamstress, Mary Pickersgill. She had eyes that followed you wherever you went in the exhibit, right into the far, shadowy corners. Brody lifted the lanyard with the key card from around his neck, reached over the top of the portrait's frame, and inserted the thin rectangle of plastic into a hidden card reader. When he pulled it out, a navy blue panel on the opposite wall slid into the side with a quiet hum, revealing a smooth steel door that looked as if it had never been touched. Not a single fingerprint smudged its cool surface. "One moment," Brody said as he punched a code into the numeric keypad at the side of the door. Then he stepped forward and looked into an eyepiece. There was a series of high-pitched beeps and then a click from deep within the steel door's locked mechanism. Brody pushed it forward and stepped into a short hallway with another steel door at the opposite end. He motioned for the men to follow. "That first door has to close." It thunked shut behind them, and then immediately one of the bodybuilders began shifting back and forth in his shiny black shoes. "Claustrophobic?" Brody asked, smiling a little. "If we were attempting to break into the chamber, both doors would remain sealed now. The double doors form a man trap. We'd be locked in this passageway until the police arrived." He paused. "But, of course, security is well aware of our tour." Brody punched in the code, stepped up to have his retina scanned again, and waited for the second door to open. "In we go." He led the men into a cool, dark room. "Your eyes will adjust in a moment." The tall man stepped toward the table, his dress shoes clacking on the concrete floor. "There she is," he whispered, and breathed in a long, deep breath as if he could still smell the smoke from the battlefield drifting through the stars and stripes. "So this is the actual flag that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner?" "Yes, indeed." "What a treasure. Is the preservation work complete?" "It is, sir," Brody said. He wished the man would step back a bit. He was breathing all over the stars. "They won't be patching the rest?" The man gestured toward a gaping hole where one of the flag's original 15 stars was missing. "No, sir. At this point, the flowers are part of her history. The bits of stripes were cut away over the years and tucked into caskets by the widows of Fort McHenry's heroes. The star there," Brody gestured toward the hole, "was supposedly given to an important person, according to old letters. Some say it's buried with Lincoln, but we found no evidence to support that." He took a deep breath of the room's cool, quiet air. "At any rate, it's all a part of her story now. We won't be fixing anything more, just trying to prevent further damage." One of the bodybuilders stepped forward and whispered something in the tall man's ear just as Brody's cell phone buzzed. The curator cringed as if the noise alone could pollute the pristine air of the room. He looked down to read a message and let out a sharp sigh. "If you'll excuse me, gentlemen, I'm being summoned to deal with an issue in our First Ladies exhibit. Officer LaHoo is on his way to escort you out." The steel door whooshed open once more, and a Smithsonian guard entered the room. "She told me to get you there pronto," he told Brody, reaching out for the clipboard. "I'll finish up here." "Thanks, Paul." Brody gave a hurried wave and left the chamber. "All right, gentlemen, have a last look if you will. We need to lock down for the night." Paul looked down at the clipboard. "Let's see, checking out a final tour group of 4, correct?" "Correct," the tall man said, and turned briskly toward the door. "And thank you. It has been a rare gift to see the flag up close." "My pleasure. All set then?" 4 men followed Paul out of the chamber past the silver punch bowl and the portrait of Mary Pickersgill. And then she watched as they walked by the charred timber and the British bombshell and spilled back out into the reception hall, where the crowd was clapping for the orchestra's final piece and the champagne flutes were almost empty. The fifth man, the one whose name was never on the clipboard, had disappeared. And something else disappears too, the flag. All three of those children sitting on the bench right outside where they entered in, those three kids end up at the airport, snowed in with all those other people as well, and they have to go on a hunt to find the flag. So if you want to find out what happens in the rest of the story, pick up a copy, and I'll see you here again next time for another First Chapter Friday video. Happy reading!
Continue reading Capture the Flag by Kate Messner. Pick up a copy from your school library, purchase one from your favorite local indie bookstore, or get it via the link in the description. Then be sure to check out the rest of the First Chapter Friday playlist. I've got almost 200 middle grade and young adult novels waiting there for you. If you're not sure what to read next, let me help you by listening to the first chapter of one of these amazing books. I promise you there's a little bit of something for everybody: prose novels, novels in verse, graphic novels, and more. This week's mystery quote says, "It felt like the answer was there, right there, but moving too fast to see clearly." Thanks so much for joining me on my channel Learning with the Word Nerd today. I hope you come back for more First Chapter Friday videos, brain breaks, direct teaching instruction videos, and more. I'll see you again next time. Happy reading.